What's going on, everyone? So yesterday, the schedule for the NBA was officially released, and the Lakers got their schedule also. And as you see here, our first 5 games are tough, right? You got Denver, Phoenix, Sacramento, Orlando, and the Clippers. So in our first 5 games, you have 4 of the top 5, 6 teams in the West. You got 4 teams that very likely could represent the West in the NBA Finals. Denver just won the NBA championship. Phoenix, I mean, if they play as well as they look on paper, are probably the best team in the league if that happens. And then you have Sacramento, and who was really good last year, and I imagine will continue to improve this year now that they have some experience under their belt and just another year together. And then the Clippers mostly every year. For the last 15 years, the Clippers have been the number one team, right? Like they're the pick that many people believe will come out of the West, right? You have dating back to Lob City, that ended up being a bust, and then you have Kawhi and Paul George end up teaming up to take over LA, right? And that's gone terribly, but that's primarily because they can't stay healthy. If we're being honest, like the Clippers healthy are very possible to come out of the Western Conference. Like, I don't think anyone would be surprised if they ended up winning an NBA championship if they could stay healthy. They have the size, they have the depth, they have the shooting, they have the stars, they have everything you could want. They just can't keep their 2 main players on the court, especially come playoff time, right? So this is tough. And not to mention, one other note about the Clippers have just had our number the last 5 years or whatever. It's been 3 years. We just can't seem to beat them. So last year, as bad as it was, right? You had us start 2-10 on the season. We started 0-5. It was rough, right? You had this just really tough beginning to the season. And last year, the Lakers' schedule started tough, and then it kind of cooled off towards the end. The Lakers were able to make that push for the playoffs. But you can't go 0-5, right? Now, many people could have Orlando circled. I actually think we beat Orlando because we'll be in LA for that game. But Orlando could be surprisingly good this year. Don't sleep on the Orlando Magic, right? They've shown stretches. They had a month stretch again this year where they were the best defensive team and a top 5 offense. So if they could just put that together consistently, they could be a very good team. So the Lakers could easily, coming out of this 5-game stretch, if they're not careful, locked in, focused, ready to go, easily could be 1-4, 0-5, 2-3, something like that. And that's the last thing you need. The Lakers need to show and establish that, hey, we're here. We're one of, if not the best teams in the league. And we're going to start this off. I would love to go 5-0 in this stretch. But can we go 4-1? I think that would be just out of the park, right? 3-2, I'd be okay with, right? If we could beat, say, Denver. I'd like to win the 2 home games because we got Denver in Denver, and then you have the Suns, you have the Orlando Magic, and then you have the Clippers, which are all LA home games, right? The Clippers game is in the Clippers, but it's Staples Center, right? Or Crypto Arena. But I really want to establish the tone. I really feel like we need to beat the Clippers too. Just to add and get rid of that noise and that stigma and just kind of show this year is different. If we could beat the Clippers this year, because the Clippers match up really good with us. But couple things. One, the Clippers will never be healthier than they will be that 4th game into the season or 5th game into the season, right? So you'll get them the healthiest they'll have been. They have the depth, they have the talent, they match up well against us. They've had our number the last few years. If you run through the Clippers, okay, maybe run through is the wrong word because I don't think we beat them by 30. I'd love that. But if we can handily win that game, that would be great, right? That would be awesome to see and kind of just show okay, this year is going to be different, right? This year is going to be very different. We're not getting swept by teams this year or anything like that. We're going to get this done. We're going to do what we need to do, and we're going to start this season off with a good note, because the last few seasons we haven't. The last few years we've been rough, and you have all this promise, you have all this talent, you have this incredible roster. And yes, chemistry is a big factor, understanding of players, like where are their spots? Like, how does this guy like to play off the ball? How does this guy look on the ball, right? Like, and there's also going to be like that experimentation stage early on, right? They've talked about starting Jackson Hayes next to Anthony Davis. How do they throw, Gabe Vincent in the starting lineup here and there? But we need to win games more than anything. You need to start establishing that environment, and that, like, okay, we're here, right? Like, last year wasn't a fluke, because that's going to be the conversation. If the Lakers start 0-5 and all of a sudden it's like, well, now what? So this is just another year this year. I don't think that this is going to happen. I do think that they win some of these games, but I'd love to beat the Clippers. Phoenix were in LA, but my thing about the Phoenix game, and the reason it's not like super important for me to win that game, is just because there's so many unknowns with both of these rosters, right? Like, Phoenix might take some time to really figure it out, right? So even if the Lakers win that game, unless they beat them by like 40 or something, then Phoenix is in trouble. But I don't think that happens, right? Let's say the Lakers win by like 15. I don't think you could put that much into that game. Don't get me wrong, I'm going to be hyped. I'm going to be excited. I'm going to be talking my talk, right? Like, I'll be with everybody like, see, Phoenix ain't nothing, right? But the non-diehard fan in me, the basketball, student, is like, okay, well, Phoenix, they got to put it all together. They may take a little time to really figure it out. They may never figure it out. They may just be a good, not great team. Who knows? We'll see, right? It could be clunky. We've seen super teams put together that just don't work, right? And so if it does work later on down the road, or if it does work in the beginning, then cool, right? But even if Phoenix beats us, right? Like, let's say they beat us by like 10 or whatever, or beat us by like 15 or something like that, right? Like, I still wouldn't put too much into the Phoenix game, because, again, there's just so many unknowns with that roster. Now, if we lost by like 30 or something, then that's a little bit of a problem, right? But to me, it'd be more so like, how did the game go, right? Like, regardless of who won and lost that game, like, how did the Lakers look in that matchup as a whole, right? Was it a hard fought game, and KD just became KD and hit some clutch shots down the stretch and it was a tough loss, right? Or did they just control and dominate us from start to finish? Because that would be bad. And same thing if we beat them, right? Like, did we just run through them? Were we just super hot and it was just like, it was impossible for them to keep up, even with their firepower, because we shot like 50% from three or something crazy, circumstances. So that's why I'm not like super like circle the calendar for the Suns, but I do think it's a game that I'd like to see us win. You're going to have all this hype with the Phoenix Suns. If you beat the Phoenix Suns, that'd be really good. But again, look at all like even like Miami's big three started off rough. Like, most teams, when they put this stuff together, start rough. So I don't want to look too much into that. Denver is very likely going to be ring night, opening night. You're in Denver. They were talking all that talk. This is a game that I firmly believe the Lakers have double circled on their calendar with like arrows pointing to it and saying like, we need to go and smack Denver, right? Like, I want them to go in there and just put it on them, right? I'm not saying you're not going to beat Denver by like 30 or anything, but I'd like the Lakers to basically close that game and be in command mostly throughout, right? I'd like to see like real control of that game from the Lakers. I'd like to see the Lakers just really match up with Denver well and just kind of, quiet the noise a little bit. Because the problem is too, is that if Denver beats them, all that noise is going to pick right back up, right? So it's just, I don't know, it's going to be interesting, but we have to, in my opinion, have to beat Denver. That's one of the big ones that I have circled. And then the Kings, they're young. They're very likely. See, my concern is how much do the Lakers care about seeding, right? Now, early on, I don't think that's going to be a question. They're just going to be trying to win games and figure stuff out. But Sacramento's a team that I think, like, they're going to try to get that 1 seed because they're young, they're talented, and they want to, like, prove a point. And I do think we match up great. I think we got good size against them. I think we have the better overall core and the better overall roster. But Sacramento is very young, run and gun. They have a full year together. They play a certain way, like that's really good for the regular season, right? But we see they struggle a bit in the playoffs because you can't play the way that they like to play in the regular season. So this matchup is going to be interesting, but I wouldn't be shocked if the Lakers actually lost to the Kings, right? Like my hope is best case, obviously they go 5-0, but like realistic best case, I'm hoping they beat Denver. I'd like to beat Phoenix, beat Orlando, and beat the Clippers, right? So that's 4 games and our 1 loss to Sacramento. But I would be okay if it was something like we beat Denver, we beat Orlando, and we beat the Clippers. Because I think Denver and the Clippers are the biggest, like, circled, like, you got to win those games. So I wouldn't be shocked if we lose to Sacramento. But again, if we can go 5-0 during the stretch, let's get it, right? Like, let's make that happen. Let's get this done, right? Like, I want to see the Lakers really just come out strong, right? But it's tough. It's a grueling stretch, and we'll see how it goes. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion. Pass a question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How important is it to win those first games? What do you think of the Lakers' schedule? What do you think of these matchups? However you feel, whatever your thoughts are, I'd love to hear it. Let me know down in the comments.